Guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gimp with a Limp, and I'm here with a quick special treat for you all. This is the production version of Lanzerath Ridge, Battle of the Bulge. This is part of the Valiant Defense series by Mr. David Thompson. You guys know I'm a big fan, and Niels Johannesson also helped with this one. Real happy to see this actually come in the mail. I was actually surprised. I was like, why am I getting a box from DVG? For some reason, they've decided they don't like me anymore. But I still work with Mr. David Thompson. Love his stuff, obviously. And this one is my favorite of the Valiant Defense series. This is number 4. Remember, they've got, see if I can remember, Pavlov's House. Oh, crap. Can't remember the Castle Eider. And what was the third one? And Soldiers in Postmen's Uniforms. That's right. I had to remember it. So, yeah, the first 3 I've already covered, and obviously I already covered this one as well because I did have a prototype copy of it. Really loved it, and I gotta say this, yeah, it's my favorite of the series. Now, it was Castle Eider was my favorite. So now if I had to rank them in order of favorites, it would probably be Lanzerath Ridge, Castle Eider, which I can never say right, and then I would say Soldiers and Pavlov's probably tie. And it's not that any of them are bad. They're all great. For me, it almost comes down to more of a theme thing that really strikes with me. But I've always loved that small band of troops just holding out against overwhelming odds. They all have that same theme to them. Anyway, let's take it down to the table, take a quick look at it. All right, so we're down here at the table. Let's take a quick peek at it, see what all we have in the box. But one of the things that was included that I found just awesome is the companion book, okay? And this doesn't have, excuse me, hit my tripod. This doesn't have anything specifically game related to it, but it has all the history behind what's going on, what you're basically playing in the game. And it goes through all of this. It talks about the battle, like the prelude, and then how everything panned out, actual pictures of the ridge itself. And so anyone who's a big into history, who enjoys this type of stuff, is really just going to love this. This is the type of bonus. This is the type of stuff that I love to have included in a game, because I really think it brings it to that next level, just pulls you in that little bit more into it. So yeah, companion book for this, totally awesome. And you got to admit, the graphics on this thing just look awesome. That evil look right here, just the German SS troops coming in, that just looks so cool to me. So let's pop the top off. Obviously, we're going to have a rule book. We're not going to go over all the rules to it because, like I said, I played the game, so you guys will have seen that. Make sure you go watch the video explaining how the game works. And nice big mounted map here. Look at that. That looks good. Let's fold this out real quick, let you guys see this, because the one I used before was a prototype couple of pieces I just laid out together, and it was still able to hit as one of my favorites. Oh, look at this thing. That's beautiful. Hold on. Lay all this out. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I mean, that's a gorgeous map right there of the ridge. And in the game, just real quick overview. I know I said I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to do it. Obviously, it's very similar to the other Valiant Defense series type games, in which you'll have a section, whether it's your house, your castle, or in this case, your ridge, that you're defending, and there are different avenues of approach for the enemy troops. So the SS guys are going to be coming in through these little pathways down here at the bottom, and you want to keep them back as far as possible, right? You know, one of those states of siege type defense games. And the cool part is you do have little areas here at the top where you're keeping track of your different levels of ammunition, because they had, so much that they were able to defend the ridge with. I think it was 18 guys who were defending this ridge. So they had a few machine guns that they had to kind of spread out across the area to hold back these hundreds of troops that were trying to push them back. I mean, 18 versus, 500? I mean, total badasses that were doing this. I think they had a single Jeep too, because they did have some forward observers who had radio so they could call in a few things. I think they had, it was either 1 or 2 Maul Deuces and then a handful of like 30 cals they got to use. But you obviously had to keep things like your morale up in the game, keep the enemy back from crossing and taking out your troops. And something that was different in this one is these white lines that you see here are actually how you denote range. So that adds a modifier when you're firing at the enemy if your line of sight crosses those white lines. And you see they've got it denoted there with a +1. Easy way to keep track of it. Does your line of sight cross it? Yep. Okay, so you're going to add a modifier to it. All right, so what else do we have in here? It looks like we've got our player aids. Tells us everything that's going on. Obviously, this is a single-player game, just like all the other Valiant Defense series games. The attacker phase, attributes. For some reason, they didn't do double-sided. It's kind of surprising because they could have done double-sided on these and saved themselves maybe a little bit of production cost. I don't know, maybe it was cheaper just to do individual sheets. All right, and of course, our pre-rounded nice counters here. I think these are our action markers, if I remember right. Obviously, our ammo markers, enemy troops, leaders, riflemen, and then the ones that have obviously names or pictures on them like this, these are our guys, the American troops. And then the machine guns, see, Mark 19, the Maul Deuce, gotta love the Maul Deuce, the artillery Jeep that I was telling you about. Let's see what else we have. I think these are disruption tokens, more of the ammo tokens. They're a little bit smaller than I remember, but I think this actually works out a little bit better because they were almost too big in some of the previous games. And the ammo markers, especially when you're keeping track of them up here across the top, like here, you've got 12 of these things that you got to put. So they have to be small enough to fit in there. So you'd have so many like spare and then so many that were actually loaded and able to be used. So them being this size, that makes it a hell of a lot easier. And then they were in different squads. So that's what we have like with B or C or the stars are A. I think the stars are leader type guys. Let's see, what else do we have? So we got 3 sheets total. These are some barbed wire that can help slow down the enemy, grenades, the morale tracker, and I think these are intelligence markers. And then we have just a few blanks there that were not needed. And then extra enemy troops, they're basically riflemen, submachine gun, grenadiers, leaders, and then medics that they had this time. And then they do have machine guns, MG42s, that can be set up to be used against you. So when you're doing this, it's going to be done very similar to how you've seen in the other Valiant Defense series. If you've played one of those, you're going to be able to jump into this game relatively easily. The same type deal with, spent and exhausted sides for our guys here. You see now they're exhausted. There's some like commanders who have the ability to cause multiple units to come back from being exhausted, be able to be used again. So you want to spread these guys out and use them to the best of their ability. They're better used in a leadership position for their action rather than just taking an individual shot. It's all about that action economy. You have limited amount of ammunition. You have limited amount of grenades, limited amount of barbed wire, and very few troops. So you have to make use of everything you have to its maximum because you're going to just keep getting hit with wave after wave that's going to get stronger and stronger through each subsequent turn of the game. It really is all about making those smart choices. Let's see what else we have in here. Obviously, we've got a couple of big decks of cards because that is what the game is based on. Drawing these cards, it's going to tell you what type of stuff is going to come out, and then you'll roll to see where exactly it's going to come out, unless it tells you specifically, and then you're just going to place it there. Again, go check out my little playthrough video on it, and you can see all of that, but we do have a couple of those. All right, a couple last things that come in the game. One of which is these cubes, which I had to think for a sec, like what the hell are the cubes for? We've already got all the pieces we need for the game. And the cubes are actually just an alternative you can use if you'd rather have little wooden cubes instead of these small round tokens. So if you want to use those to help keep track of things like being disrupted or your ammo, you can do that. It's perfectly up to you. If you like the color-coded cubes, go with that. If you like the counters, go with those. Me personally, I probably go with the counters just because the symbols on them help as a mnemonic reminder for me. But I like having the option. That's always nice. And then, of course, we've got a big bag of dice that are going to go with it. And you'll notice there's multiple different sizes. This isn't just D6 or D8 or 10 or whatever. It's got variable, I think all the way up to 12. So we got 6, there's an 8, there's a 10, these are 12s. I think that's as high as it goes. I don't think we've got any 20s. But that does come into play because there are different attacks that will get you better dice. I think like your machine gun, you're going to roll heavier dice, give you a better chance to get an attack off your troops. Using rifles, not as much. So real cool aspect in the game. They've kind of evolved it over the course of making all these different Valiant Defense series games. Ultimately, a real good game. I know I haven't gone into it very much specifically, but I just wanted you guys to see the production components that come in this. Like I said, I covered the prototype of it, and even the prototype components were good. So it's just that just little bit better when you get the final production version. And again, I mean, look at that map, man. That map just looks gorgeous right there on the board. Looks even better when you get all the counters spread across it. So if you've played one of the Valiant Defense series, Lanzerath Ridge, it's a no-brainer, right? If you like the previous ones, I guarantee you will like this one, right? Hands down, no questions asked, get it absolutely out the door. My absolute favorite of the series. And it really, it's like he's learning. I should say, I keep attributing everything to David, but it's because I know him and I talk to him. But the people designing and working on these games, they're learning through each course of the Valiant Defense series and tweaking it and making it just that little bit better each time they make a new one in the series. So it does nothing but improve. But obviously, a big portion of it is going to come down to theme, like Castle Itters. One of the big reasons I like that game was because it was one of the few times in history you actually had German soldiers fighting on the side of the Allies. They actually were fighting against the SS who were trying to break into the castle. That's just a neat part of history that very few people have ever heard about. One of the big reasons I always praise DT when it comes to his games, these specific games, is that he's covering abstract stuff. Everyone knows of Normandy. Everyone knows about Pearl Harbor getting hit. You know, the big parts of World War II. Plenty of people know about that. You learn all about that in school. But these battles, the heroes that really made the difference when it was a handful of guys against 500 SS pouring in to tear them apart and keep on with Hitler's war machine, no one knows these people's names, but they changed the course of history. They stood on a ridge and said, no, we'll lay down our lives to make sure these guys don't get to continue what they're doing. They deserve to be remembered, and what better way than a kick-ass game where you get to kind of relive what they did. Awesome. So yeah, definitely make sure you check out Lanzerath Ridge by DVG Games. Really awesome, great components, map is gorgeous. Really worth checking out, especially if you are a fan of the series. All right, that's going to be it for me. You guys take care. I'll catch you in the next one.